every person who is charged with a criminal offense is entitled to defend himself in person or by a legal practitioner of his own choice.
Remember that an individual is entitled to remain silent.
Every citizen in Nigeria is entitled to maintain a private life.
You are approaching a military checkpoint or a police checkpoint without knowing that it's against or it offends them and subject you to a frog jump. That is wrong.
Hello out there, you are welcome to another fresh episode of the program Justify Nigeria on ACNN television, reaching you from Abuja. On today's episode, our focus will be on the legal concept of trespass. My name is Anozechi Nomso. It remains a statement of fact that one of the branches of civil law is the law of tort. The law of tort is the very heart of human interaction. This is because it regulates the civil relationships in society and sets the boundaries as well as the depths of all human existence. It is, however, important to underscore the fact that there are various aspects or parts of law of tort. Which one of them is trespass? Trespass, simply put, is a wrongful interference with the possession of property. It could also be seen to commit any offense or do any act that injures or annoys another, especially when it violates any rule of rectitude. What then can be said about trespass in its entirety? Are there types of trespass? Where and when can it be said that one has committed trespass towards another? Is trespass actionable in law? With me in the studio to address all this is Barrister Emmanuel Omole. He is a first-class graduate of Nigerian Law School 2017-2018 session, and also head of chambers of Nakodo Law Partners here in Abuja, and grounded in prominent practice of corporate consultancy and litigation, such as sports, entertainment, aviation, and criminal law. He's also passionate about social change and government accountability. Barrister, you're welcome to the program, sir.
Thank you so much, sir. It's a pleasure to be here.
Thank you so much.
Yes, sir.
We talk about trespass. Oftentimes we hear laymen and even people that say, don't trespass on my property, and they enjoy using that word. But please, in its entirety, what is trespass, especially to the knowledge and understanding of our viewers who may not be lawyers?
Yes, thank you so much for having me
You're welcome.
on the program. When you look at the social construct of a democratic society, and you look at the foundational framework of the Constitution, you will see that there are certain rights and obligations that are given to individuals. Now, using Nigeria as an example, from section 33 of the Constitution, there are several.
Now. Of course,
chapter 4 of the Constitution. From section 33, there are several rights that are ascribed to you as a Nigerian citizen. Amongst those rights, first is right to privacy, right to a private and family life. Okay. Another right is right to own and possess immovable property.
Well, that right is there?
Yes, and also the right to own and possess movable property.
Can you make a distinction between that movable property so that our viewers understand?
When you talk about movable properties, you're talking about properties that can easily be moved from one place to another. You're talking about your car. You're talking about your laptop. You're talking about your clothes. This wonderful monkey jacket you're putting on. You're talking about...
And your suit as well you're putting on.
You're talking about equipment like this table and all that. But when it comes to immovable property, you're strictly talking about land and landed properties. So that's the distinction. So on one hand, you have the right to own and possess movable property. On the other hand, you have the right to own and possess immovable property. So it is from this foundation that human beings, especially Nigerian citizens, begun to enjoy these rights. However, in the course of social interaction, there might come complicated situations where these rights are being interfered with. So if there is any point at which you, as a Nigerian, you are enjoying yourself, and you're enjoying your rights and you're living peacefully, and then somebody else comes and interferes with the enjoyment of that right, no matter how little it is, no matter how intangible it might seem. Because funny enough, immovable properties includes your email. Yes, properties that are not tangible.
Like email,
your email
text
is your
message,
property.
text
Your
message.
text is your property. So if someone even interrupts or interferes with you enjoying your own
I take
email,
my wife's phone now and look at the email without, I've interfered with that.
even people that send you unsolicited emails are interfering with your right to enjoy your email. So it is when these rights are being interfered with that the issue of trespass now comes in. So trespass is that act that interferes with the peaceful enjoyment
No matter how minute.
of these rights. No matter how minute.
Thank you very much. You
Yes,
heard
sir.
it from him. No matter how minute, that interference will be, trespass have been committed. Now, are there types of this trespass?
Yes, I would like to begin with the forms of trespass.
Okay.
Because a lot of people don't know this, but trespass has a civil dimension and also a criminal dimension. Why? Because the entire idea of criminal law is for the state to be able to regulate the activities of citizens. So, whenever trespass is done with the intent of causing harm, with the intent of committing a crime, or stolen property is being put on a particular land, then it is said that criminal trespass.
Okay, it has shifted
occurred.
from civil
It has
now
shifted from civil
to criminal.
Thank you. So now the state has that obligation to punish
The offender.
that particular offense. On the other hand, we have civil trespass, which is what
You
is
are
more
talking about the
popular.
forms now.
Yes, these are the two forms. Criminal and civil. Yes. So civil is usually the most prevalent type of trespass by virtue of natural human interaction. Now, civil trespass on its own has three different types.
Okay.
The first type is the trespass to your person. If I reach over and I tap your shoulder and it's unsolicited, I have trespassed.
When you mean unsolicited, without my permission, without my
your permission,
consent.
without your consent, exactly.
Okay.
So once I do that, I have trespassed to your person. The other is trespass to chattel. Chattel is another word for movable property.
Because
like
I was about
mentioned
asking you
earlier.
there for some of us that are not lawyers.
Exactly.
Okay,
So that
okay.
is the
Okay.
technical term
Okay.
for movable
Property.
property.
Chattel.
Exactly. So whenever anybody interferes with your right to enjoy your movable property, it includes just merely obstructing you. It includes taking the property away from you. It includes detaining the property. If there is any form of interference from you enjoying that particular property, that is trespass to chattel.
Okay.
And then there is the final one, which is the orgaz of the orgaz, which is trespass to land. Because the moment you own a particular land, the position of the law is that you own that land to the depth of the center of the earth and to the highest of the heavens. Even though we don't know if heaven is up there, but even to the highest of the heavens. So you own the entire airspace and the subatomic.
Whether it's building
level.
anything at all, whatever
Exactly.
it is.
So for instance, if I'm digging a tunnel from my house and I mistakenly dig it and enter into the underground part of your property, that is trespass. Yes. It
It's
is.
as serious as that?
It's as serious as that. So the entire essence of trespass to land is because when you are assigned a land, when you're given a land, either by virtue of possession or by virtue of ownership, that assignment has to be protected. You have to be protected from other people coming in to interfere with your possession on the land. And there is one key thing that we need to note when it comes to trespass to land. Trespass to land is built on a foundation of ownership, of possession, and not ownership.
Possession?
Yes, I will explain.
Please,
Yes.
please explain.
Yes, because the idea behind trespass to land is that the person that you trespassed upon his land has to have possession of that land. It is not always the person will be the owner of the land.
That's how the law looks at
Yes,
it.
a perfect example is landlord and tenant relationships. So the moment I let my property to you as a tenant, you are in possession of the property. You are there. You are sweeping the compound every day. Your
You're
children are
enjoying
there. You are
everything.
enjoying possession of that compound. Even me as the landlord, the day I come without your consent and without your permission,
Provided the rent is still running.
provided you are still within that tenancy
term.
that relationship.
Yes.
If I come into that property, even though I'm the owner,
It's
I have
trespass.
trespassed. Yes, because I have ceded possession to you to enjoy the land. So if I come in without going through the processes laid down by the law to collect or recover my property, and I just enter, it's my land, I'm the landlord, what can they do? Do they know how many years I built this land? I will enter this land, what can they do? You've trespassed. And you'll
Is
be
as serious
liable.
as that?
Yes.
Council, this is becoming more interesting, but you're going to continue on this after we come back from break.
Thank you so
Please,
much.
viewers, do join us again. Hello, you are welcome to the speaker on ACNN Television, reaching you from Abuja. On today's edition, we are looking at the phrase or the sentence, Honorable Nigeria or Horrible Nigeria. My name is Anozechi Nomsu. The word honorable usually attributed to a person that is worthy of honor, fit to be esteemed, regarded, illustrious, high-minded, acquitted by principles of morals, uprightness, audible cause with strict regards to decency, respect, probity, frugality, rectitude, or reputation. On the other hand, horrible is atrocious, frightful, and dubious in nature. When one is horrible, it means that there is nothing that is objectively good and progressive that will come out of such individual. A cursory look at the brief highlighted meaning of honorable, it means that honorable is honorable, and anything short of that is horrible. There is no doubt that the Nigeria of today is no more a place where peace and justice reigns. In fact, I dare say the Nigeria of today have normalized injustice and criminalized justice. It is on this premise that I ask on whether we are living on an honorable Nigeria or a horrible Nigeria. When you look at Nigeria today, unthinkable and inconceivable things happens on a daily basis. There is no night that you will sleep, then wake up the following morning without seeing or hearing one bad story or another. It's either bandits have killed a number of people or henchmen have killed some persons. It's either Boko Haram have kidnapped some people or government shot people in a community. This is a perfect picture of horrible Nigeria. When fear and unrest becomes the portions of the citizens of Nigeria, it is a clear pointer to the fact that Nigeria is no more honorable but horrible. In a situation where a former chief of army staff failed in his duty to tackle insecurity, only to realize in his ambassadorial Senate screening that it will take up to 20 years to fight insecurity, is a total recipe of horrible Nigeria. When the leadership of a country fails in their primary duty to provide the basic protection of lives and properties of the citizens, is a younger brother of horrible Nigeria. When a public office holder refuses to resign even when he is aware that he has failed in his duty and thus cannot perform efficiently, it becomes a pointer to the fact that we have a horrible Nigeria. When a government appointee refuses to retire as at when due, but goes ahead to manipulate for an extension of his tenure of office to 3 months, it shows the extent of affinity between Nigeria and the word horrible. In a situation where one of the Islamic clerics by name Sheikh Egumi always locates bandits in the forests, but the army or military, air force, navy, and civil defense cannot, is not only most laughable and a joke of the century, but also one of the odd, bizarre, and infantile stories I've ever heard of in my human existence. How can it be that Nigeria claims that they do not know the whereabouts of the bandits, yet Governor Aminu Bello Masari of Katsina State holds meeting with the same bandits? How can it be that the Nigerian police force claims that they do not know the hideout of these killer henchmen, and yet Governor Mohammed Mutawale of Zamfara State holds negotiation meetings with the same killer henchmen? How can it be that it appears that everyone has access to bandits, Boko Haram, gunmen and killer henchmen, but Nigerian police do not have access to them? How can it be that Nigerian Army find it very easy to locate and disseminate a harmless instant security network, ESN, but find it difficult to fish out and apprehend these criminal elements in the name of bandits, henchmen, and Boko Haram? It can only be because we have horrible Nigeria instead of an honorable Nigeria. Is it not laughable and ironical at once that innocent protesters are arrested and treated like common criminals, while the criminals are canonized and treated as saints? Let me say this at this point, that being an honorable is beyond displaying your pictures in any commercial banks in Nigeria. Being an honorable is beyond dressing in a well-starched and ironed Agbada or Ankara fabrics. Being an honorable is beyond driving ACV vehicles and displaying the peak of your depravity and nuisance by blowing siren all over the place. I therefore speak, until we all understand the actual meaning of honorable and tactfully separate it from horrible, and further imbibe ourselves with the objective values of honor and dignity, and our leaders wake up to their responsibilities and squarely confront the challenges of Nigeria in spirit, truth, honesty, and probity, we shall continue to have a horrible Nigeria instead of an honorable Nigeria. My name is Anozie Chinomso. I just want to speak. Glad to know that you are still there, and we are still here with Barrister Emmanuel Omole. Barrister, before we went for break, you are trying to let us know that the law looks more in possession than ownership. And you use the landlord and the tenant example to illustrate that. Now, where is the place of ownership now? Does it mean that the law is dispensing ownership like that? For example, if let's say I'm looking for my biro or immovable property like car, and I is in possession of somebody, so I can't validly claim that until I establish a better title. Is that what we're saying?
Yes.
How can that be done? Yes.
The idea behind the mechanism of the law is that when the law sees that someone is in possession of something, the law presumes he's the owner.
Presumption now?
That's what we call a rebuttable presumption of law. So the law sees you with the biro, and the law says he's the owner of that pen. But the other person that comes and says, no, but it's my pen, now has the burden to prove that it is his pen. So the burden of proof lies on the person who wants to establish a better title. If you claim you are the owner, come and show us you are the owner, because the law saw him with it.
Is that why we say in law that possession is 9/10
of the law? Exactly. Because that is who the presumption favors, who possesses that land. So even if somebody illegally trespasses on your land, you still have to go to court. And when you go to court to sue for trespass, the first thing you have to prove to the court is that you are the owner, the lawful owner of that land.
So if the plaintiff fails
to prove that he's the owner first,
even if he's the owner, the person in the possession still handles the property.
He still has the property. You will go and come back.
Is that serious?
Yes, it is.
Thank you very much for that.
Perhaps that is why you need a good lawyer.
Definitely, definitely. Now, Counsel, explain the legal concepts of it, because we made mention after the forms, you talked about the types, trespass to person, trespass to chattel or good or whatever. Please now explain to the better understanding of our viewers each of these trespass, so that we know what it entails.
Okay. So I will begin with trespass to person.
Okay.
Now, trespass to person is any form of interruption or interference with your enjoyment of your private and family life, your peaceful private life. Now, whenever somebody comes in and directly or indirectly interferes with your privacy, now where is most prominent is when people attempt or succeed to physically harass or physically assault the person. So if I come to you now and I decide to physically malhandle you, which I don't think is possible looking at your shoulders, but if I come and I peacefully malhandle you, then I have trespassed upon your person. So as you are now, it's like you have an ownership over this area,
embodiment now.
This area. So it's like a shield. The law shields this area. That's based on your body size. So the moment I interfere with that shielding, I have trespassed on your person. Now it can come in so many forms.
Okay.
It can come in forms of assault. It can come in form of battery.
Yes, I was about
now,
the battery.
Assault,
is it the one we use in clock or what? Please explain that battery.
because
talk about battery.
There's also a misconception between the two, because yes, assault is actually when I put you under the apprehension that I will harm you. I've not harmed you. When I harm you is battery.
Okay.
Yes.
The main shock.
So that shock. If I do like this, you will be like this. I've assaulted you.
And it's actionable.
I've not touched you. Yes, I've just assaulted you. It's actionable. But the moment I touch you, it becomes battery.
So the point that I'm just trying to play with you does not arise, provided there is a possible shock.
Exactly.
Assault having.
Yes, because the key thing is that apprehension. You created an apprehension. I was living peacefully, but then you created an apprehension of harm. So that means I am entitled to seek redress in the courts.
For that simple thing.
It's just that we are not petty as Nigerians.
Yes.
If not, there will be so many cases of assault in the court.
So you see this thing which people do, maybe somebody will be going on, so you just come and say, just.
Exactly.
That's an assault.
That's an assault on it too. You don't need to have touched the person. It is when you touch the person, it becomes battery. Another example is false imprisonment. If we're about to leave the studio and I lock the door and I say you are not leaving the studio, I've interfered with your enjoyment of your person, your right to move about freely. I have interfered with that right. So that can also be classified under trespass to person.
You don't mean it. Any form of, but are there exceptions to all this? Because we talked about forced imprisonment. I remember during coronavirus, when the pandemic last year, they said everybody should stay on their home. Is that, can't it be action? Can't somebody say that the federal government have doing forced imprisonment to that?
Yes, one of the exceptions as it relates to that is when there is statutory or legal justification. So if there is a body empowered by law to control the activities of the citizens in a particular area, which is the government through the NCDC, National Center for Disease Control, who say that, or the Presidential Task Force, who say that it would now be unsafe for you to walk around. As such, everybody should stay home. They draw that authority from the law. That is why it is called legal justification. Justification that can be traced back to the law. Another example of legal justification is a court order. If a court orders that you be remanded in prison,
of course.
That's legal justification. Exactly. Another exception is consent. If I consent to you interfering with that peaceful possession, then that is fine. For instance, if we are joking and I say, you're so funny, and I tap you,
I can't say that battery have.
You can't say no, because we were in the very jovial mode and you consented to it.
Thank you very much.
Thank you so much.
Now, you've just made mention of all these things, but you have not touched about other types of. You just talked about person. So please, in a few minutes.
As for property, you have an exclusive right to possession of your property. Nobody should interfere with that right ordinarily. It is an exclusive right. So far you own property and you are in use of that property, nobody should interfere with it. However, just like in trespass to person, if you consent to somebody taking your property, now. That is the exception. If you consent to somebody taking your property, then that is totally fine. Also, if there's a legal justification, if there's a court order to seize your property, then it can be seized. But ordinarily, you're entitled to full possession of your property, which is, if you permit me to digress a bit just for a short while, if you are driving your car along the road and you are seen to have committed a traffic offense, when they approach you and they want to take your car to the impound law, the only justification for them seizing your car, that is the traffic protection agencies, VIO, road safety, the only justification of them impounding your car is that little provision of the law that says that at the immediate moment they are entitled to seize your car while they investigate. But still, if they want to keep your car for a protracted period of time, they need to go to the court and get the legal justification we spoke about, which is the court order. You
see, viewers, the essence of this program, because most of all these rights have been violated without you knowing it. Now, Council, when that is being done, because oftentimes we see maybe governors can invoke a section in Land Use Act and say this is for public policy and take somebody's oftentimes ancestral land. In that circumstance, what happens? Wouldn't you say that the government have trespassed on their properties, on their land, what happens in that circumstance?
I'm afraid I would like to start with a bit of bad news, because the law actually permits the governor to actually revoke a title to land and then take ownership of that land for public purpose.
But that
now, where they get it wrong is that it has to be for public purpose. If the government should reallocate it to another person or another community or even a company, maybe a foreign company, to build somebody, you can go to court and seek redress on the basis that that was not taken for public purpose. They were just serving their interest. So usually what happens in practice is that they take these lands and they reallocate it to companies, people, and community, and their relations and all that. Once they reallocate it, then that is evidence that it was not for public purpose. So you can challenge that revocation. So you can go to court and challenge the revocation of that land, because the law, it's together. It says, it didn't say revoke and then public, it's together. Revoking for public purpose. It has to be for public purpose.
Thank you very much. So in all this explanation, all this trespass and all the form, are they actionable in law?
Yes, they are. Apart from the criminal aspect, which is tantamount to prosecution. Yes. When it comes to civil wrongs, trespass is generally actionable in law, which means you can approach the court to seek redress. Now, when you're approaching the court, there are several remedies that are available to you. The first is injunction, because whenever trespass happens, the first thing is to stop it from happening. So that is why the first remedy you should always try to seek in court is an injunction, stopping this person from continuing that interference with your person, good, or property. That is the first. Then secondly, there could also be damages. You could also seek damages from the court. Now, damages, because most times when there is trespass to person, chattel, or land, there's always some form of damage caused by that trespass. Because even if I tap your shoulder, that pain is a damage.
Definitely.
That pain you felt is a damage. So there's always some form of damage. Now, because of the construct of the law, the only way you can be compensated for those kind of damages is in monetary sum. So you're allowed to seek monetary value of the damage that was caused to you.
Thank you very much, sir. Please, just in a few minutes, what is your advice to the viewers, especially people whom their rights have been trampled upon, who people have trespassed on their properties? What is your advice to them, our viewers?
My advice to people and to the viewers out there is that whenever you feel that your right has been infringed on, the first thing is to make the proper consultation, to know the proper nature of the trespass. Because some people, it might be a criminal trespass, and then they take it to court instead of reporting it to the authorities. So you make the proper consultation to know the nature and also to know the remedies, because the law is here to serve you. The law is not here to control you. It's not here to subjugate you. The law, the essence of the law is to regulate the activities of society. So the law serves you. So you would use the mechanism of the law to attain justice.
Use
That
the
is
mechanism of the law to attain justice, because the law is here to serve you and not to destroy you. I want to appreciate you, sir.
Thank you
and
so
I know they will also have to consult a good lawyer like you when that time comes. Thank you so much.
Yes,
And I pray that next time we call upon you, oblige us.
I definitely
Thank
will.
you so much.
Yes, sir. Thank you so
It
much.
is trite law that trespass is actionable. This is because it is an elementary principle in law that every unauthorized and unlawful entry into the close of another is a trespass already. In trespass, the slightest direct interference is actionable, and the injured is not necessarily on duty bound to prove actual physical damage. The saying that an inch on a man's land is as much as a trespass as a mile on it is illustrative of these facts. Finally, in order to succeed in trespass, it is advised that the plaintiff must establish that he has exclusive possession of the good or land, or that the trespass was against his possession. This is where we draw the curtain on today's episode of the program. Until then, this is Anozechi. I'm so wishing you the very best, and bye for now. Every person who is charged with a criminal offense is entitled to defend himself in person or by a legal practitioner of his own choice.
Remember that an individual is entitled to remain silent.
Every citizen in Nigeria is entitled to maintain a private life.